Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And this is a fantastic show that I cannot wait to get into. Before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel. So let's get into today's topic. And this is going to be a continuation of something that I heard from Ric Bucher's podcast called On the Ball with Ric Bucher. Excellent podcast. I suggest you guys go check it out. So in this podcast, Ric Bucher was essentially calling out LeBron James for his constant lying. Like he was calling him out. Like, bro, you always capping. Like, you're always capping. And like, when are you going to stop with the capping? Like, when is it going to end? And he broke it down. He even broke it down to the point where he was like, LeBron has even found creative ways to turn himself into a victim. Right? It's crazy. Now, as I was listening to it, he was talking more and he started bringing up some even greater points and greater arguments with Jordan and all of that. And I was like, well, I can't put all of this into one show or one segment rather, because it will do the video a disservice. So I said, let's break it up and do a separate video on it so I can really flesh out these thoughts. Now, look, I've always maintained, and I'm still going to maintain it, that this GOAT debate is one of the biggest hoax. It's like a debate made up of smoke and mirrors, man. There is no real debate here. But because companies like Nike need to sell shoes, companies like ESPN need ratings, they try to make it into something that is in reality that it's not. It's not a debate, but they try to make it. We have addressed this GOAT debate probably 50 to 100 times. And every single time we have addressed it, I cannot see a path for this thing to even be considered a debate. There is no way. There is no avenue that he could take for me to be like, oh, well, you can do. There's nothing. There is absolutely nothing. A lot of his supporters try to twist themselves like pretzels to try to make up arguments for it. And there's none. There's nothing that LeBron did. And I was like, man, you know what? This could make, there's nothing. There's nothing. And his supporters, if you sit them down and try to have a conversation with them, which is like talking to like the wall. But if you try to sit them down and have a conversation with them and ask them to explain to you, why do you think LeBron, what are your arguments? You will realize that it's just a bunch of nonsense, like a bunch of nonsense. And something that I noticed, and I'm so surprised that Ric Bucher picked up on this, but I shouldn't be because he's an astute observer, was the games that they've been playing. One of them was somebody who came up with this, we're done with the 90s thing. What LeBron fans realized was, since they can't attack his resume and the player, Jordan, they now started to try to attack his era. It's quite transparent, but they do it and act like people are stupid that they can't see through it. Like, this is the crazy part. What they're doing is so obvious, but they act like we don't understand what they're doing, and they still do it. So they try to do that, and they try to pull off other slick moves. Well, apparently Ric Bucher's taken notice of this, and he decided to take LeBron James and his ridiculous fans to task. And what he did was he totally destroyed all of their weak, pathetic GOAT debates that they try to have with Michael Jordan. And he just went to town on them. So what we want to do is want to play what Ric Bucher had to say here. And I'm going to come back and get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
That means that over the last 6 years, using only the most conservative number of players, 260, he has been in the top 10% of players in free throw attempts per game every season. Every year in the top 10%. And if you go back over his entire career, he had a stretch of 10 years when he was in the top 2%. But he's never been lower at any time than the top 10%. Ever. And yet, he has the mystical audacity to say, yeah, for the last 5-6 years, I've been in the bottom half of the league in free throw attempts. To suggest, by the way, that that's proof that he's not a flopper. But the reality is, referees watch tape. And once you have the reputation of a flopper, they're no longer going to blow the whistle when you fall down or when there's contact, at least not at the same consistent basis. So Why would he think that he could get away with telling everyone that for the last 5-6 years he's been in the bottom 50% of the league when it comes to free throw attempts? Or why would he think that that would somehow be an argument to suggest that he's not actually a flopper? Again, I can only theorize. 1, he seems to have a taste for pretending to be a victim. 2, he figures his followers, much like the other guy, will not only believe it if he says it, they will get angry and cry about how he's being unjustly treated because he said it. By the way, I realized something about the LeBron devotees who have dedicated their lives to trying to hoist LeBron above Michael Jordan as the greatest of all time. That they generally employ one of two tactics that expose the fact that they either never watched Jordan play or they know that they can't make a basketball-based argument for their guy. So they do this. This is their counter to any time you blow a hole in their statistical or analytical or personal accomplishments between the two. They try to discount either A, who Jordan competed against, the old plumbers and carpenters line, or B, they impugn anyone who has seen both Michael and LeBron play and favors Michael by calling them old heads who are just romanticizing the past, who can't let go of the past. Aside from neither of those things being true, certifiable or otherwise, it shifts the conversation away from assessing their actual games or accomplishments. Because here's the reality. If it looked like Jordan was competing against plumbers and carpenters, it's because he made them look that way, not because they were literally tradesmen or that they were that severely inferior. He was just that much better. When Jordan was playing, no one, and I mean no one, debated who the best player in the league was. Ever. And there were tons of Hall of Famers. When he ducked out for 2 years, Hakeem Olajuwon became that guy. Hakeem Olajuwon, in my mind, the greatest center that we've ever seen, well, that I've ever seen. Just because I didn't see Wilt and I saw Kareem at the end. So if you want to go with either of those, you want to go with Kareem, that's fine. In terms of the time that I've covered the league, Hakeem Olajuwon was as good as any I've seen. Watching him absolutely take apart a young Shaquille O'Neal in the finals sealed the deal for me. It was one of those times you just go, I can't imagine anybody. I had not seen anybody else do what he did to as great a player as Shaquille O'Neal. And he undressed him. Also undressed David Robinson once upon a time, after Robinson went out of his way to win the scoring title. Those are the guys that I like, by the way. When you do something that's for a statistical reason, and I like David, but that was just so he could say he had a scoring title. When you put the numbers ahead of the game and you have somebody who respects the game to the point to say, don't you think for a second that your statistics are going to mean that you are better than I am, and then they go out and they make you pay for that, that's my kind of player.
So you heard what Ric Bucher had to say. I want to flesh this out. Let me tell you the most annoying part about arguing with a LeBron fan. And I mean this. I sincerely mean this. I have noticed from my time debating LeBron fans and listening to them discuss this GOAT debate. I mean this. I don't mean to disrespect them, but I mean this to say in the case that I'm telling you what I mean and it's the truth. And I really believe this. I think LeBron James fans are logically challenged. I'm not even being funny. I'm not being funny. I'm not trying to be funny or disrespect. I'm being real with you. I think logic and LeBron fans are like oil and water. They don't mix. They do not mix. And what I've understood is that there are different kind of groups of these LeBron fans. There are different tiers of them. They're the dumbass ones that have nothing to say. They're just dumb as hell. They would just say stuff like, oh, you an old head. They got nothing to say. They have no argument, right? They got none whatsoever. So they resort to, oh, you're old head. Those dudes, those are the dudes that have nothing. Those are like the grunts in Halo. You know Halo, the game? You know the grunts? Them little short dudes? That's them. Them little things? That's them. Then you have the midway dudes. These are the jackals, right? The dudes with the shields and all of them. Now, these guys are logically challenged, but they don't know that they are. So they try to have debates with you, thinking they're having a debate. But in reality, their arguments are all dumb. But they're better than the grunts, because the grunts are just flat out dumb. The jackals in the next tier, they actually try to make arguments, but they're all ridiculous. Then you have the next tier, which is those big ass dudes in Halo, them big ass monsters. They used to shoot that green plasma, whatever it is. They're the brutes, these big brutes. And these brutes, okay, are the dudes that now think that, oh, they have an argument for you, right? They believe themselves to be enlightened, and they go out there and they try to make these arguments. They will even try to use big words, but all of their debate points are idiotic from start to finish. But what usually happens is that these guys, they get to, the hunters, that's what they call them, they get to walk around and have their views, and they make sure to never have people around them that are smart enough to call them out. So they really feel emboldened. Then you get to the next level, which are the elites. Okay? The elites now. The elites are the dudes with those invisible, those swords, the ones that become invisible. Those are your Nick Wrights. Right? Those are the Nick Wrights. Those are the Shannon Sharps. These are the guys that are for the cause. These are the guys that are for the cause. They go out there, man, and they're zealots. But at the heart of every single one of them, their logic. Nick Wright be sounding smart, but his arguments are logically flawed, and I'm going to tell you why. The reason that he always loses the argument and his logic is always flawed is because he is picking the lesser of the two individuals to prop up and say he's better. So the premise of his argument is already flawed because he's picking the weaker opponent and now trying to put him on the level of the guy that is clearly better. So no matter what he says, even though Nick Wright is smart, his arguments always end up being flawed because he's picking the wrong person to defend. And therefore, when you listen to it and you scrutinize what he's saying logically, you realize this doesn't make any sense. And then you realize, oh, he's reverting to certain platitudes and he's going out there and saying crazy things like LeBron passed Jordan in 2016. Crazy things. And then, of course, we have the forerunners. Who are the forerunners? The forerunners are the Rich Pauls, the LeBrons himself, all of the people in the back, the executives at ESPN, all these guys that are trying to make it a debate. Those are the ones pulling all the strings. These are the levels of it. But at every single level, logic is not present. It's just a bunch of honey slinging, twerking it up, hollering and screaming, once being tossed all over the place like the intro in Belly. Just a bunch of nonsense. All they do is twerk. Wake up in the morning twerking. Go to sleep twerking. They having lunch and their chair is vibrating because they twerking. Unreal. And Ric Bucher pointed it out. He pointed it all out. And the part about him talking about, oh, you know, you were old. Bro, they ain't got nothing to say. You don't realize they have nothing to say. They have, LeBron fans are the only fans that will openly admit that they don't know anything about what they're talking about and then still talk about it. They're the only ones. They will openly admit, I don't have all the information. I don't have all the facts. Now, listen to my arguments. How can you call out people that have more information than you, but then you believe that you're saying something? Isn't that the grunt? That's the grunt. That's the grunt. Not too far from the jackal. Not too far from the jackal. Now, the elites, And the brutes, they try to stay away from that. Those arguments because they know they're dumb. It's a dumb argument. But this is what they try to do. You will never hear Nick Wright, an elite, say, oh, these are old heads. You will never hear it. You'll never hear it because they know it's a dumb argument. The brutes, sometimes they do it, but then they realize, oh, this sounds dumb. This sounds dumb. Do you know why? Because there are a lot of old heads that also think LeBron is a GOAT. Oh my Lord, what do I do now? What do I do now? I just appreciate the fact that Ric Bucher's calling it out. Now, in terms of, me arguing with these guys, look, I've listened to almost every LeBron supporter that believes he's the GOAT. I've listened to almost all of them. Almost all of them, unfortunately. And their logic is always flawed. They say things they have no business saying. Oh, LeBron is the GOAT off the court. Based on what? What exactly? Because he took a political, because he has a political stance? Who says his political stance is the right one? You're just looking for anything to hold on to. You got to go to politics to now say he's better than Jordan? Like, what are we talking about? Oh, Jordan didn't take a political stand. And are we judging these guys off their political views? So why are you bringing it up? Because I ain't got nothing else to say. Exactly. I know. Let me answer for you. How is LeBron one off the court better than Jordan? How? Based on what? You can't even compare them off the court. I think if you even go off the court, it's even a bigger joke. Are you kidding me? Who had a larger cultural impact on the world? Is it LeBron or Jordan? Like, let's be for real here. Whose shoes still outsell everybody's shoes combined? Is it LeBron or Jordan? Like, come on, like what? So you just know that these guys, them and Logic, man, they're just not friends, man. Them and foolishness, these dudes and foolishness and ridiculous arguments are like 4 and 5 or 5 and 6. They're always together.